It's the hardest tournament to pronounce. The Charles Schwab Challenge. Nick, we didn't realize that this was hard to say until we started getting ready for the show. And as a producer Dan said, just call it the Chucky S. So welcome everyone to Tea Time. I'm Andy. That's Nick. We're going to break down the Chucky S. Charles Schwab Challenge here at Colonial Country Club. Nick, real quick. Holy cow, is Scottie Scheffler back or what? Good Lord. You and I were talking like, is this just throw your bankroll on top 10 minus 340? And if it loses, you start fresh, start a new life.
Like, yeah, minus 340 for a top 10 is just, it's ridiculous. I mean, but.
And warranted.
It's not really so.
Yeah. What was your take on the PGA Championship?
I mean, it was chaotic at first, right? The first day or two, I'm in multiple different major pools, and like nobody's got this leaderboard is chaotic. Which we did talk about the PGA Championship as the one major that can be, but you saw Scottie down there 2 under that first round, and looking at the names of who was ahead of him, there was nobody there, so you knew if he just had a decent second day, which it wasn't a matter of if, it was just like how decent will it be. So luckily, Justin Thomas made or break my week last week, so I was disappointed with how he showed. I needed that. Our biggest play was on him, so that was a shame. But luckily, we were able to grab Scottie after round one, knowing the only pre-tournament outright I made was Rory. But in hindsight, that month Rory just had like non-golf wise, it's just out of routine. I mean, how many media like radio shows and talk shows and this, that, the other thing was he doing? Hindsight. I just kept saying, why didn't I take in Rory? He's won here 15 times. Of course he's going to do well.
Yeah.
But, at the end, Quayle showed pretty well. It was a good test. I've heard some people, again, leaderboard sucks, this whole thing. By the time you got down to it on Sunday, I mean, you had Bryson, Rahm, Scottie, all right there. I mean, they all faded, folded at the end. But overall, I thought it was
good. It's kind of interesting. My takeaway was, these courses, they grow out the rough, but it can be a bad thing too. How many balls should have gone in the water that the thick rough gobbled up? Like,
it's true. That was Rory a couple times.
Yeah. And you could tell the guys kind of figured it out. It was like, it's okay if we go long. It's okay if we're right. Yeah. Because so I don't know. That's interesting. You want to grow out the rough because you want to make wayward drives tough. But then the other thing is, it stops the ball from rolling.
Shave everything near a hazard, maybe.
Yeah,
the rough everywhere else. Shave everything near a hazard.
I was thinking of stripes.
Yeah,
like what if like around the green? Like what if
one row of rough, one row of.
Yeah. So if it rolls the wrong way, I don't know. It's kind of a stupid idea, and I'm sure the greenskeeper, anybody that's a greenskeeper, is laughing at me right now. But let's break down the Charles Schwab Challenge here. We're at Colonial Country Club, 7,289 yards. It's going to play as a par 70, I believe. I was looking at the course. It's gone over some huge renovations the last couple years. This was the course where they literally had the bulldozers and everything right outside the tournament as they wrapped up a tournament that just like all came in. It's definitely accuracy. You're not going to be able to overpower this course. Obviously, there's some par fives, but for the most part, you got to hit the ball in the fairway. There are trees, not a ton of water, but there's some water. Weather looks to be really good. Thursday is going to be the easiest for the weather. The wind will pick up a little bit on the weekend. I think it's going to be firm and fast. This area has not gotten a lot of rain, so I would expect drives to roll out. I would expect the greens to be pretty fast. I can't say, U.S. Open type fast, but I don't think you're going to be seeing guys throw darts and just get the ball to stop immediately. So precision strategy is going to be the name of the game over raw power. I kind of chuckle when these courses are like, oh, we have the horrible horseshoe, holes 3, 4, and 5. It's like, it's not that difficult. Like some courses have their signature 3 holes. Yeah. Some courses have like a 3-hole stretch that are brutal.
Right.
I can't put this one in there. So whatever. You have the horrible horseshoe. I kind of roll my eyes there. So I just think this is kind of a pretty traditional course. Not a lot of meat to it. If you're not accurate, there's some holes that are going to give you some problems, but it's not going to be too detrimental. So I don't think it's going to be too difficult of a test. I would expect to be in the mid to high teens. Maybe someone goes out super, super low and gets it to 20s. What's your take on Colonial Country Club?
You hit it on the head as far as accuracy over distance. I kind of like this last little 3-week stretch we're on. It was, the truest was for me, just look at all the guys that can keep it in the fairway and keep it in front of them. Don't worry about distance. That played out to be pretty true with Straka winning and the leaderboard the way it looked. And then last week it was like, if you don't have distance, you're probably not going to have a realistic chance, which there's always some outliers, but Scottie, Rahm, and DeChambeau all being right there at the end on Sunday proved that point. And this week, I think, is back to that. And history of this tournament shows that. I mean, you got winners like Justin Rose, Kevin Kisner, never a long hitter, Chris Kirk, Zach Johnson. So, I mean, their skill sets pretty much tell you the story here. You do not have to hit it long. It always helps if you do and can hit it straight. Scottie Scheffler is like the one guy that can do both very, very well. But usually it's like one or the other for most of these drivers. So it doesn't need to be distance that you look at this week. Only 2 par 5s. So, again, another reason where, distance – when the more par 5s you have, the more distance matters because you're going to give yourself more birdie opportunities just with those holes alone. So with the less of them, another reason why it's not a huge, huge factor. And the last thing I'll add is course history here. There are some courses we talk about that the history matters a lot, and there's some courses that maybe it doesn't. Augusta is always famously one of the most, consistent repeat players that go well each year. This is another one that history really does matter. I actually found this stat pretty interesting. Sergio Garcia was the last first-time winner here, Andy, 2001. That's the longest such streak of any current tournament that's on the PGA Tour right now. So this –
wow.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't really know that, but found that a little interesting. And then it always plays pretty tough. Last year, Davis Riley, out of nowhere, 14 under, won by 5, so he was the only player – in double digits. And then the 2 years prior to that, Grillo in 23, Burns in 22, neither reached double digits under par. So it plays tough over the course of 4 days. And a lot of that has to do with wind, right? We're in Texas. They're going to look at 10 to 20 miles an hour pretty much every day. So it's going to play challenging just for that reason. It's going to be hot too, 90 degrees. So, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any rain or anything. So don't have to be long. You probably should have played here quite a bit over the years to kind of get an idea how to get around this course. And, the wind's going to mess with people just like we saw a lot last week, too. And it's amazing how good Scottie is at controlling his irons in the wind. And it just, we'll talk about, I'm sure, and more as we go. But it just really does. Yeah. Head and shoulders above everybody else in this field.
Yeah, maybe I was a little ambitious there with the minus 20. You're right. It's play. The weather just seems to be kind of perfect this week. You're right, hot, and I'm not really sure how much the wind is going to truly bother him. If there's a few holes that it bothers him on, yeah, it'll probably trip him up. I'll go over my favorite hole. Nick, it's the first hole. I love starting off with a par 5. I like this.
I do.
Yeah, chance to get a birdie right off the bat. You got to come out of the gate strong here. You can't just ho-hum your way to a par on this one. The fairway dog legs to the right. It has fairway bunkers on the left, so you got to be accurate. If you do find the fairway, no problem going for it in 2. Green has 4 bunkers surrounding it. None are that difficult to get up and down from. So I don't think you're going to see guys laying up on their second shot unless they have a really bad lie in the rough. Just, hey, hit a 3-wood up there or hit a long iron up there. If it goes in the sand, it's not that big of a deal. You can go up and down. So I like this. I like the way this starts off. Guys have to be aggressive. This isn't like I feel like most courses, it's like, here's a standard par 4, let guys settle into the round. I like the way that this starts off. You got to start off with a birdie on this one. So that's my favorite hole. 18th hole rating. I kind of like this hole, Nick. It's a par 4. It's about 441 yards. Not that long. I give it a 5.9. The fairway is really narrow and it bends to the left. These guys are going to try and bomb it over the trees on the left, but if they pull anything, this is a really troublesome second shot. You're going to have to come out of the rough. You're going to have to navigate water that's on the left. You're going to have to navigate the bunkers that surround the green. If you hit in the fairway, it's not that dramatic of a hole, but any shot that goes left is like dead. It's really bad. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot of drama on Sunday coming in there, because that's really how I judge 18th holes, is how much drama can you give us as viewers. And I think this one's pretty good, so I give it a 5.9. Again, wayward tee shots are going to be big time trouble. You can bring bogey or worse into score pretty quick with a bad tee shot. So that's my favorite hole in the 18th hole rating. Give it 5.9. So great job in the chat, you guys, last week. Hope you guys cashed a bunch of winners. I know it was it ended up being Scheffler winning. It was pretty chalky, but you guys had some really good picks in the comment section. So give us a comment. Hit the like button. Again, try to get the likes up. It's just a little token of appreciation. It helps build the algorithm. We rank a little bit better. We get some more views. We get some more new viewers in. So if you guys could do that. And also subscribe to the channel. Tons of breakdown videos. A lot of sports, NBA, NHL are winding down. We still have breakdown videos on all these sports. We have breakdown videos for MLB. Of course, Nick and I are doing golf. I'll be doing UFC. So subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified when all of these videos are released. And of course, you can find me on WagerTalk today at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday, and then WagerTalk last call on the weekends as well to get you ready for all those weekend sports. Let's take a look at total strokes gained. We take a look at Nick's chart, and we take a look at last 3 months, last 6 months, and last 12 months. So here we go, Nick. A couple big names up at the top, then it kind of falls off a little bit. There's one name in particular that I'm interested in talking about, but want to get your take first.
Okay. I have two versions of this kind of graphic saved, one for the big event signatures, majors, and one for the non-events, because my formatting on it, the color shading is set to be a little different. It's hard to tell you the how clearly Scottie Scheffler is ahead of the rest of this field, because normally you're seeing guys like, as you see second and third here, Matsuyama and Fleetwood. If you have a 1.7 rating, strokes gain rating average over the last 12 months, that's usually pretty. I mean, that's kind of where I set the greenest color to be in this formatting. But I had to show how much of a separation it is for Scottie, and you can see how quickly it drops off. We're in the top 10 here, and you're already down under a shot. Like Max Grazerman is number 10, sitting at 0.94 over the last 12 months. So, yes, Scottie is head and shoulders above everybody in this field. The odds reflect that. Everything reflects that. Hard not to see him winning. In fact, the last 3 editions, it's crazy he hasn't won here. This is his hometown or near it, Fort Worth. He's played every year since his rookie year on tour. The last 3 years, he's been beaten by a total of 4 guys, yet he still hasn't won. He's been second, third, second. So it's coming. And he did win the RBC Heritage after the Masters last year, so it's not like this guy cannot win the week after winning a major. That being said, I don't think you need me to tell you to bet Scottie Scheffler. So other names on here, Daniel Berger is a guy I've been talking about a lot. He stands out in this graphic over the last 6 months and 3 months especially. He actually is number 2 in the field right there, as you can see in this graphic, and his consistency this season. The first 2 or 3 starts I think he had 2 missed cuts in his first 3 starts, but since then been lights out. He hasn't finished worse. His worst finish was last week, which is 33rd. Otherwise, he's got like everything else is the top 25. So I love Daniel Berger and his consistency, and he's actually played pretty well here before. And then I'm curious to hear who your other guy is. Jordan Spieth obviously will get a lot of attention because it's Texas, and he's a Texan, and that's always the case. Aaron Rise, a surprise that last week he contended a little bit and played pretty well. This would have been a week I would choose him to play well because he's an accurate guy. He's not a length guy. But those are the guys that kind of stand out to me. Fleetwood stands out color-wise, but we know the guy's not winning. He ain't going to win the U.S. We're just going to skip over him. I want to know who you're looking at here, Andy.
Daniel Berger was number 1. He's going to win.
Yeah,
he's going to win one of these. He's too close. And what I love about Daniel Berger is it's been his putting that's kind of held him back. And as you know, these guys can just get hot with a putter. And I feel like Berger is he's right there. Look, I mean, his approach numbers are absolutely fantastic. Plus 1.38 the last 30 days. That's second behind Scheffler. Like tee to green is fantastic. Off the tee is really good. It's just his putting that just hasn't quite been the best of the best. And the other guy's JT Poston. I think this course sets up really well for him. I liked what I saw from him last week. He kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch, but that's a 5th place finish on a course that I'm not really sure set up that well for him. And 12th at this course last year. So I find some value in JT Poston and definitely on Daniel Berger. So those are a couple guys that kind of stood out to me. So yeah, that's an interesting list. And, because Scottie's playing and coming off a win, it's like, well, is there going to be a letdown? Nick, this guy's just built different. You listen to him talk.
Well said.
He wins and he just moves on. He's more obsessed with getting his shots perfect than he is winning. Like he'll win and just play the next week, and it doesn't even really matter to him. You've listened to him talk, and he's like, yeah, I would be playing golf if there was no money. I would be playing this sport, even if there was no prize money. So I don't worry about him coming off of a win and having a letdown off of a major. The guy's just different. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, especially coming home. I think it's just I think he's more desperate to win this. He's like, how have I not won this? It's my home course. People, they're cheering for him hard there. So
yes,
I think he's desperate to get a win here. I think he will put a lot into this.
All right, there's your total strokes gained. Now let's move to some players that can trip you up. These are players that I think people are going to be betting on, and I'm here to warn you to be a little careful with these guys. I'm going to start with Jordan Spieth. He's a big priced guy, big name. Missed the cut last week. Last 2 years, he's finished 37th in missed cut. He had a string of good finishes there for a little bit, but he's kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. This is a short field, and he's priced as a top 5 guy, and I just don't really see it. He's a stay away for me this week. He's very inconsistent. I think we saw his streak of really good finishes. I think he had, 4 or 5 in a row, and last couple of weeks, he's kind of reverted back to the Jordan Spieth of old, sadly. So Jordan Spieth priced way too high, in my opinion, and I get it. For the books, who else are you going to put in the top 5? But Jordan Spieth is a guy that I think he's going to trip you up. And you mentioned him, Nick. Tommy Fleetwood. Like, do we ever feel confident with Tommy Fleetwood priced as a top 3 guy? No. Never. You got to go back to 2022 to find the last time he finished second. I know it's not a great field. He's got great numbers. You literally cannot poke any holes in his game. And he just can't put it together to contend for the win. He's so likable, but man, is he just too expensive this week. I'm going to stay away. You got to play a premium for a guy that has shown time and time again he just doesn't have the upside to win. So Tommy Fleetwood, he's going to be a guy I'm going to avoid. And then, boy, Hideki Matsuyama, Nick, he starts off the year with that insane win at the Century, and he hasn't cracked the top 10. Since then, it was like, okay, we're going to peak early, and that's just it. He has 3 missed cuts in the last 5 tournaments. Numbers are great, just like Tommy Fleetwood. But when he's priced as a top 5 player, I cannot invest in Hideki Matsuyama when he hasn't even shown us top 10 upside, let alone top 5, and that's where he's priced. So Jordan Spieth, Tommy Fleetwood, and Hideki Matsuyama, 3 big names this week that I think can trip you up. Let us take a look at a favorite that you're looking at to win. Who are you liking here?
We both talked about him. It's Daniel Berger. It's no surprise. And, Scottie Scheffler, yeah, he's probably going to win. But Daniel Berger might be the next best chance, or at least the most consistent guy that's going to give him a run. Usually I try to avoid past winners, Andy, and I think we've talked about this in the show before. Their odds tend to be skewed, right? It's really, this guy's won here before, so he's going to play well. Well, he's one guy I think worthy of the price because his form has been so rock solid. He did win this event back in 2020. It was that weird first event post-COVID when the tour returned. Since he's added 2 top 25s in 3 additional starts here. He has the skill sets I think that are important for this golf course, which is an accurate driver, a strong iron play. This season alone, I found this an interesting stat. He's been more accurate in finding fairways than the field average in every single start this season. So that just proves whatever the field's averaging hitting the fairways, Berger's going to be ahead of that average. And that at a place like this where hitting the greens, getting in play is important, will be a big factor. After missing 2 of the first 3 cuts this season, he's made the weekend in all 10 starts since. 8 top 25 finishes. I mentioned his worst finish was last week, a tie for 33rd at the PGA. But I don't mind that. Just wasn't a very stressful weekend for him. And that really comes on the heels of poor putting. But I'll say poor putting by his standards. He's lost strokes in the last 3 starts on the greens. Normally that's, concerning. But it was very small amounts, right? And that did snap a streak of 7 straight starts in which he was gaining pretty significant amount of strokes putting. So I'm just thinking a little blip on the radar. You return to a place that you've won and you're very comfortable and familiar with the greens. That's only going to boost that confidence back. So he's hitting the ball great. He should be comfortable back on the greens. It's hard not to see him contend. He's 25-1 to win in the normal market, or I think just for that few point reduction, 20-1 without Scheffler is worth it. So that means if you want to go on all with Scottie, go ahead, take Daniel Berger without Scheffler, and maybe he'll finish second. You can cash both, which is pretty fun. But I do think he's going to have a good week. Top 10, top 20 prices, plus 260, plus 120 respectively, I think are okay as well.
Love it. Love it. We started talking about the PGA Championship. I completely forgot to do our one and dones. I made up a lot of ground last week with Bryson. I'm going to go with JT Poston this week. I already mentioned him. Not a long course, so that's a pretty good recipe for JT Poston. I loved his performance last week at 12th place last year. We mentioned that. So I'm going to go with JT Poston as my one and done this week. Nick, who are you going with?
I'm going with Spieth, who you mentioned as a player that can trip you up. Now, I like this idea that we're not really going against each other. These are two completely different formats. A bet on the week on value on the price is completely different than a one and done, where I'm trying to figure out I have to use 50 guys over the course of a year, right? And when else am I going to use Jordan Spieth? I got to stick with the course in Texas where he's played well, right? He's been his last couple starts have been a little flaky, but he's been consistent prior to that. And I will say this, and maybe you can argue against me, maybe you can't. Maybe I'd love to hear people's opinions on this in the chat. Could you name a player that plays? What's the best way to word this? Plays more consistently at the same venue every year than Jordan Spieth. And what I mean by that is he's going to Augusta, he's going to play well. He's going to go to Texas, whatever events are in Texas, he's going to play well. He's done that here. Obviously, he's a past winner. He plays well at the RBC Heritage, right? He's won there. His streak this season, just before his last couple starts, was he finished tied for 12th at the Texas Open. Okay, it's in Texas. Tied for 14th at the Masters. Okay, it's the Masters. Tied for 18th at the RBC Heritage. Yep, won there. 4th at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. Oh, yeah, back in Texas. This guy just consistently shows up at the same tournaments every year. So one and done strategy this week, I think it makes sense. I can't really pick a time I'm going to use Jordan Spieth. And I feel like he's a top 50 player, so I'm going to probably use him at some point in the season. This seems like a pretty good week to do so. I wouldn't want to use a signature event or a major on a guy like him. But in this type of event where he could finish solo 4th, 3rd, whatever, and get a decent paycheck, I think it's worth it. But I thought it's interesting to talk about that. I think he's a good play in a one and done, but I do agree with Andy. He's probably not a great bet in the stand-up.
Yeah, one and done, you got to roll the dice with some of these guys. I mean, you and I have already used our Scottie Scheffler.
Well, it's true.
There's no more Scheffler starts left. So it's gonna do it for one and done. All right, let's take a look at DraftKings Darlings. So I entered last week's contest, Nick, in a contest with 200 people, and I didn't even check it because I had two guys miss the cut. Keith Mitchell missed the cut, and then I had somebody else, but I did have Scottie Scheffler in my lineup. Where do you think I finished with two guys to miss the cut in a contest of 200 people? Where would you think I would finish?
I would think it's not fair to ask me because I do the show with you every week, and if we're not mistaken, your DraftKings Darling finished runner-up in Harris English. So that alone, and you had the winner. You got to be up in the top 10 or top 20. I mean, top 5 or 10%, right? Third. Okay, there you go.
Out of 200 people, did I happen to enter the contest with the worst DFS players on the, how did I have 4 guys make the cut and somehow ended up third? Hey, we'll take it. I literally stopped checking. Then I was like, wait a minute, I had the winner and the runner-up. That had to have cashed. I didn't know it was going to be third out of 200. So head down and we grind on here. This is a tough week for DraftKings Darlings to try and find low-priced guys because you have to have Scheffler in your lineup. You just do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Brian Campbell at 6,400. His biggest weakness is his lack of length off the tee, and it's Nick. I might be out driving this guy. Like this guy cannot hit the ball very far, but I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue at 7,200 yards. His approach numbers and putting numbers are incredible. The last 30 days, he's made the cut in 4 out of his last 5 tournaments. So if he makes a cut again at 6,400, That's going to be big returns on the weekend. Move to Kevin Roy at 6,600. He's made the cut in 4 straight tourneys at this price. That's good enough for me. Course is not that difficult. It's a weak field. So someone that's made the cut 4 times in a row, I like his current form. His approaches are a little bit concerning, but his putting has been good enough to overcome that. So we'll take Kevin Roy. And then, yeah, back on Sam Ryder. He missed the cut once, so we put him at 6,800. I'll take it. The next week after his first missed cut of the season, he finished 13th. So he just had one bad tournament. That's one miscut the entire season. He has been the biggest DraftKings darling of the season, and it's been his putting, plus 0.75 strokes gained putting. So if you get the putter going, you're going to make a lot of cuts, and you're going to see some valuable points on the weekend. So Brian Campbell, Kevin Roy, Sam Ryder, those are your DraftKings darlings. And as always, my full lineup can be found up on WagerTalk.com. Go to wt.buzz/AL. That's where all the plays are. If you guys are interested in a long-term special, we're still running the 365 days worth of plays, and you get a free 25% coupon that you can use for the entire duration of those 365 days. You can invest in more plays. You can invest in another handicappers package as well. So take advantage of that. wt.buzz/AL. Running really good. We're creeping up on 80 units for the week. We were plus 3 units all sports last week. That's what we focus on with me and my team. We're focused on long-term profits. We're focusing on our overall big bankroll. So wasn't a great week in golf. We more than made up for it in other sports. So as long as we can keep adding those 3 units every week, we're going to be very, very happy. And that bankroll is going to continue to grow. So take advantage of all those specials. It's also $5 Tuesday. If you're watching this on Tuesday, I have an NBA play that is up, and you can grab a lot of $5 plays. It's a great opportunity to try out some new handicappers, maybe some sports that you're not totally familiar with, maybe a handicapper you haven't tried out before. But today's the best day to try and invest in some of those handicappers. And you find one that you like, you find a write-up that you really kind of gel with, there's your chance to learn about that handicapper and invest a little bit more long-term. Bet responsibly. You don't need to lay half your bankroll on the $5 plays, but it's a really good way to try out some plays, and every handicapper has a chance to put up a $5 play. That's over at WagerTalk.com. Nick, go ahead and tell everyone what you have up at the website and where we can find you at.
Yeah, I too have a $5 play going in the Europa League final. You talk about a sport maybe you don't bet on in soccer. It's Manchester United, Tottenham. That goes on Wednesday afternoon. And then the other special going on right now, it's up 30 units in soccer over the last 365 days. So we have a month pass for just $99. Great way to try out, again, maybe a sport you haven't bet on before, but 99 gets all soccer plays, which includes the last week or two of the European season, all MLS, and then as we start to get into the summer where we get the international tournaments going on. And then you get to get that as well for a year, $4.99 right now for the year. So both soccer specials on my page at WagerTalk.com.
Let's take a look at a little bit of a long shot. We talked about some DraftKings darlings. Who's a guy, maybe a little bit one of the lesser tiers than your Schefflers and Bergers and Fleetwoods. Who's a guy that's got your attention this week, Nick?
Yeah, DraftKings early candidate for DraftKings darling, MVP of the year definitely is Ryder. So he's been huge for you. And mark your calendar, folks, as the only time on Tea Time this year we will talk about Kevin Roy. So mark your calendar, May 20th, 2025. All right, moving on. My worthy long shot. So full disclosure, disclaimer, whatever way you want to word this. I usually try to keep 50-1 as my range and go higher than that. And Brian Harman is 60-1 to win this in the normal market. So at first I'm like, all right, 61, like it's a good price. I'm gonna write it up. I'm gonna talk about him. And then I'm like, oh wait, I forgot to check the without Scheffler market. He drops to 40-1. So I'm struggling a little bit with that price drop. It's pretty big. Like I mentioned Berger before, it goes from 25-1 to 20-1. So in this scenario, you'd be like a 50-1 to a 40-1 would be the same range, but you've dropped from 60 to 40. It's pretty significant. I still kind of want to lean towards it because, again, I can see Scottie winning by 6 and then everybody else just like randomly battling for second. Harman could be right there. And you could even have in the without Scheffler market, you could have a dead heat payout because you get tied for second. It's going to treat it like a dead heat rule. So it is interesting. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm a little weary on the price at 40-1, but if you want to stick with them at 60-1, that's fine too. But when you hear accuracy off the tee is more important than distance in any event, Brian Harman should be a name that comes to mind immediately. He hasn't won here but this has been a regular stop for him every year, basically. This is his 13th time that he's played in this event. In his first 12 tries, he's got 7 top 25 finishes. He's only missed the cut twice. This year, he comes in with solid form. He did finish tied for 60 last week at Quail, but even making the cut, to be honest, was always going to be difficult for him just because of how long that place is. And I do like the up and down ebb and flow of the PGA Tour, and the fact that he played early on the weekend, he didn't grind through anything. I look at that as a positive going into the week after that start. So I don't. There's nothing negative for me that the fact that he finished tied for 60th last week is basically my point. But before that, he already won in Texas this year at the Valero Texas Open. He finished tied for 3rd at the RBC Heritage. Excellent short game, Harman does. Everybody kind of knows that. He does the waggles, whatever. It takes forever sometimes, but he's really good with his wedges, and he's a great putter. So skill sets are always going to play out here at Colonial Country Club. So I like Brian Harman. Again, I'm struggling a little bit with the price drop on the without Scheffler market, but I'd hate for him to finish tie for second and Scheffler win by 8 too. So I'm probably going to go that route.
Scheffler win by 8. Hey, listen.
I mean, you did that 3 weeks ago, right? So
yeah, absolutely. When he bogeyed the last hole to win by 5 at a major.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Crazy.
Ridiculous. So, all right, there you go. There's your worthy long shot of Brian Harman at 40-1. And yeah, look at some of these markets without Scottie Scheffler. He's won 2 in a row, and yeah, it looks like there's absolutely no rust, and he's completely dialed in. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. Again, guys, hit the like button. Really, really appreciate that. Leave us a comment. Tell us who you like this week. Always love seeing who you guys are betting on, and appreciate you guys for following all season long. Been a really, really fun year so far in golf, and it's go time, Nick. We got championship is right around the corner. We got a couple majors in there, so it's really
picking up. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, really picking up steam. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified whenever an episode of Tea Time goes up. That's going to do it for us. Good luck on all your bets. Don't forget to check out all of Nick's deals, wt.buzz/NB. You can find mine, wt.buzz/AL. Good luck on your bets. We'll see everyone later.